Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, Sigrika, the character that I feel like no one is actually going to pull, especially knowing what's coming up in version 3.3 and beyond. She's finally here. At least her full details regarding both her kit, her combat showcase, and of course her weapon as well. And this is going to be another new character release, so we're going to be taking all of this stuff sequentially. And of course, before diving into the actual details of her kit, we've got to go take another look at what she's actually capable of in combat over here. And these combat showcases, in my opinion, are some of the coolest things that Wuthering Waves actually ends up making. As you're all probably aware, the tacit mark reveal is always my favorite part when it comes to these. So let's go ahead. Let's see what Sigrika is up to over here, because despite what, the popularity is surrounding some of the future characters, it does look like this showcase is still getting a lot of hits. She might be more popular than we thought. Who knows? And I've actually taken a preview at her kit. She's kind of fucking broken too. So without further ado, let's go ahead. Let's check out this combat showcase and see what it's all about. Oh, okay. We're getting some that 2D. Whoa. Whoa. Where'd that dude come out of? Yeah, that might be the craziest TD reveal I've ever seen. Where the hell did that dude even come from? That was insane. Wait. It looks like she summoned him. Wait, did she summon? Nah, she summoned that guy. Wait, aren't they fighting? Oh.
Need a hand with something? Then I'm the one to ask.
Yeah, she just looks goofy. And is that like the...
To ask. The one to...
I feel like I didn't hear her voice a single time during the broadcast. So, yeah, her voice is all... Yeah, her voice kind of like threw me off a little bit. But, yeah, and here you go. You got the, you got her in all of her full goofiness. So, yeah, that intro was definitely kind of like interesting. Yeah, I still don't know what the hell is going on. Was she trying to catch it? Was she fighting the echo? I'm not super sure.
The hand with something? Then I'm the one to ask.
Yeah, she does seem like Phoebe. Yeah, no, she is Phoebe. Except instead of having fun with Echo, she has fun with the solo skins. You never know, guys. You never know. She might end up being a cult classic like Peeb. Who knows? Because when did Phoebe come out, right? She came out in like 2.1, literally the main sort of like filler patch of Ridicida. And I don't know what occurred, but she ended up becoming one of the most popular characters in the game. So I guess we'll just have to see what happens with this one. She got like the blindfold too, I guess, when her Forte is activated. She's a bit like Chang Li, I guess. Also has like a pose move like Yinlin. And some cutscene animations too. I feel like attacks like this kind of indicate she's not really going to be that quick swappable, because this actually looks a lot like an Amith, looks like an Amith attack, but not like maybe as long. Okay, is this the tacit mark, bro? What is that? Bro, is that like a... Bro, is this Minecraft? What the fuck?
True name, illuminate.
Yeah, not gonna lie, that was pretty cool. Wait, let me see that again. Dude, this might be some tacit mark power creep. Holy moly. It's got like some digital circuitry and stuff too, and then you got all the Royan runes.
True name, illuminate.
So I guess it's like a, yeah, it's like a blend of like tech and like ancient stones and stuff. That's yeah, it's like digital rocks. The brick is there to show that she's gonna brick your account. Yeah, that does look like a brick, doesn't it? Yeah, that literally is a brick. Nah, you're not wrong there. All right, let's do that ultimate animation again.
True name, illuminate.
Yeah, her attacks are just ridiculous. I'm gonna be honest over here. Who would have thought that she has the most like martial arts, just punching the shit out of her enemies and like kicking the shit out of them? Who would have thought that it'd be her out of all the units on the roster that would fight like that? I don't think anyone saw this coming. All right, guess we'll get a bit of a showcase here. Yeah, it's going to be as goofy, isn't it? Should be a happy-go-lucky, fun little patch. These guys are stupid, though. Yeah, they seem a little bit incapable at the very least. Anyways, that was just like a fun showcase. That was just like a fun showcase. I don't think she's meant to have like the strongest story relevance ever. It is cool that she's giving some of that, I guess, like additional background and lore on all the stuff going on with like the Royans and the Rudes and stuff. But yeah, I'm not necessarily sure if she's gonna have, you know, the greatest story role, especially with all the stuff happening with like Aleph 1, Amith, and all of that shit, if you know what I mean. Tonight we are Sigrika and Friends, the combat showcase. Okay, alright. Well, you can probably tell why she's going to be an echo skill damage dealer. Yes, the solo skins do in fact count as echoes, if that wasn't clear yet. But yeah, with that out of the way, and that reacted to, we're now going to be moving on to her actual full kit reveal. And Kuro's done a bit of a good little blend between what they've traditionally done in the past with this upcoming one. So let's go ahead, let's get right on into it. So, we got Sigrika. Unfortunately, I think we only get to see like the bottom half of her because this is long as hell. She's gonna be an Echo team main damage dealer, hyper carry, if you will. And her combat support is she's gonna have traction, which is the ability to group up enemies, and then she's also gonna have stagnation, which is basically CCing them. So you could kind of almost view her as a, like, I mean, I'm gonna be honest over here, based off of what I'm seeing over here, like a female version of Jian that does like echo skill damage and will scale off of people that, well, buff echo skills. So right off of the bat, you should probably be thinking about, oh, who some of her best teammates will be. It is 100% going to be this guy, and she's also going to want, well, him on her team, and he's also going to be rerunning alongside her. So yeah, that's something that makes a ton of sense, just right off of the rip. And so you probably can understand why they're running alongside each other. Now, moving forward a little bit, we've got more on her profile. She's going to be an arrow gauntlet user, which I think we all knew by now. And then when it comes to her ascension materials, she's going to be using that astronauts drops from 3.1. So if you farm this guy, well, you should be good to go. And he's also her main echo skill as well that you're going to equip in the main slot. Arithmetic shells are actually available in the Roya part of Lahai Roy. You can see it's in Bjarder Forest, so you can actually gather all of these right now. And when it comes to our other materials, Exostorm Pendants, Golden Memory, well, that's just the Sigil Emboss, and those are the new Lahai Roy mats. So yeah, nothing too complicated over here. You should be able to pre-farm everything you need for this unit, but are you going to pull this unit? Let's find out. So that's just a bit more on her combat rolls. Once again, we already saw that up front, so we're not going to spend too much time over here. Now, her normal attack. And this is where stuff could potentially get a little bit complicated because, like I mentioned before, guys, they're taking a bit of a different approach with the design of these. Because now they're just showing the whole normal attack, and they're actually showing, I think, all the different hits that are in the chain. So that's actually pretty cool. Let's talk a bit about what we're seeing over here. So she's going to have normal attack 1, 2, and 3. Remember what I talked about when it comes to being complicated? Enter the Decipher state for 5 seconds after casting the 4th stage of her basic attack. And this effect ends early if Sigrika is switched off the field. Do you kind of see what's going on already? She's meant to spam basic attacks to be able to enter this whole sort of like Decipher state. And it looks like she doesn't have as much quick swapping ability as people might like because that state is lost when she's off the field. And when Sigrika has at least 50 points of full stop, and you'll figure out what full stop is later, her basic attack cycle is going to start from the 2nd stage. So you can kind of see over here, she's meant to use her basic attack a lot. And in the Decipher state, pressing the normal attack on the ground will cast a special type of basic attack called Elucidated. And dealing arrow damage, or it's going to deal arrow damage, which is echo skill damage, and she'll leave the Decipher state upon using this ability. So you can see over here, Sigrika's actually got like a, I do believe that is a 5-hit basic attack chain. Yeah, that's what it's looking like over here. And then that's going to be the special attack that she can use when, well, naturally, you actually have Decipher. So it's more like a 4-hit basic attack chain that adds on this Decipher attack over here called Elucidated at the end. And so you're probably going to be wondering, okay, why do we want to use this attack? We'll probably find that out later in her Forte. When it comes to her heavy and mid-air attack, yeah, nothing too crazy. I don't think you're ever supposed to use these. And the fact that there's no actual description for them leads me to believe that, yes, you're not actually supposed to use them. So they're in there, so you can do like a little like Goomba stomp if you want, or the kind of like crossblade thing. But I don't really think they're going to be essential at all for anything that, well, you're actually going to use in her kit or her rotations. So don't worry too much about these. Just, yeah, they're just there. Now we're going to have her resonant skill. And I guess this one's called Royan Close Quarters Combat. So I guess every Royan knows how to like fight like this. Attack the target, dealing arrow damage, and using a normal attack afterwards. After Boomy Boom. Sorry, that's the first guy. It's called Boomy Boom. She can start her basic attack from stage 3. So yeah, use your Boomy Boom and then your normal attack, and you'll advance her basic attack chain faster. And as we all know, you really want to use basic attacks on this character. Sounds fair, right? Now she also has a big Boomy Boom. When in the Decipher state, press the resonant skill on the ground to cast Big Boomy Boom. So you can see over here, she's entering the Decipher state by using her normal attack 4 times. This is actually very helpful. Using a normal attack 4 times, getting Decipher, and then using a resonant skill to cast Big Boomy Boom. And that's going to deal arrow damage, considered echo skill damage, and it'll also cause her to leave the Decipher state. You're noticing, use the basic attack, get it to Decipher, and then have some additional abilities that you can use when you're in Decipher. The first one's going to be that basic attack, and then you got Big Boomy Boom over here. She's also going to have another resonant skill. Yes, she's got 2 enhanced ones. Solar Skin to the aid. While in Decipher, with at least 50 points of full stop, she's going to use her resonant skill on the ground to cast Solar Skin to the aid and deal arrow damage, considered echo skill damage, and then leave Decipher. So you're probably noticing over here, oh my gosh, I can't really tell the difference between these two. Well, when you have at least 50 points of full stop, remember, that's a resource that she has. You start her basic attack chain from stage 2. Because that's what it says up here. So you basically have like a shorter cycle to actually get to this whole Solar Skin to the aid attack when that Forte circuit, or I don't know if it's her Forte, when that resource full stop is built up. Now, moving forward, we got her Resonance Liberation, where Trust leads me. And yeah, she's just gonna fucking kick the shit out of her enemy. Yeah. And she's also gonna gain a special buff called Divergent after kicking the shit out of her enemy. What Divergent does is the next time Sigrika obtains a rune, she additionally obtains a rune of the opposite type and removes Divergent. You might be wondering, okay, what the fuck is a rune? When Sigrika holds Divergent and Convergent at the same time, Convergent takes priority. And when Sigrika holds 100 points of full stop, Divergent doesn't take effect. Not a lot of this stuff is actually going to make very much sense at all until we read her Forte circuit. So let's go ahead and do that first and then revisit whatever the hell this means. All right, Forte circuit. Within Infinity's Embrace. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that sounds a lot more badass than Big Boomy Boom. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with the naming of this character shit, because they like it's like a mix of like a 4-year-old ogre and like a sophisticated scholar. Yeah, you know what I mean? Anyways, here's gonna be some of her special Forte attacks. Heavy attack, Schemata of Runes. Hold the attack button with 2 runes active. It's going to consume 2 of them, deal arrow damage, and based on the types of consumed runes, gain different enhancements and launch various enhanced attacks. And if Sigrika has at least 30 points of this other resource called Solar Skin's Vitality, the enhanced attacks deal more damage, and she gains a stack of her innate gift. You're probably seeing what's going on over here. This character has a shit ton of buffs, a shit ton of AoE, and as you'll find out from the buffs, also a shit ton of damage too. She's also going to have another attack over here. Hold E with a maxed full stop. When full stop is maxed, hold Resonant Skill to cast Forte Circuit, learn my true name, which, well, that's like the slingshot attack that drops down a gigantic Solar Skin. It's going to deal a shit ton of arrow echo skill damage. And so now you're probably going to figure out, okay, what the hell is Solar Skin Vitality? What are runes? What's all of this stuff? Let's read up on it. Hitting a target with basic attack, Elucidated, or dodge counter, Decipher. Remember, these are those special attacks that she has when she enters the Decipher state. She gains 1 rune of Trust. Hitting a target with Big Boomy Boom, or Solar Skin to the aid gives her 1 rune answer. So those are the 2 different rune types that she has. One is gotten from using her resonance skill, either version of it, depending on your amount of full stop, and then the other is obtained from her basic attacks. So you're naturally going to want some different rune combinations to be able to maximize all the different buffs that she has. And when it comes to Solar Skin Vitality, when nearby resonators in the team use an echo skill, she gains a stack of this. And remember where the interactions are, right? If she has at least 30 points, the enhanced attacks deal more damage and she gains a stack of innate gift. You see what's going on? She wants other echo skill casters on her team, much like a Galbraina really wants other echo skill casters. And so you're beginning to see Chu Yan, this unit, who has 4 echo skill casts in his rotation, his own baseline one, and then his 3 Thus Spoke the Blade attacks. Well, you're probably seeing over here, right? Yeah. Performing Thus Spoke the Blade, any of the 3 attacks, they count as an individual echo skill each. So there you go. That's where you're seeing a lot of the synergy coming up over here. Now, innate gift. Each stack of innate gift grants the chained attacks of her heavy attacks, Schemata of the Runes, and her Forte circuit damage amplification. And remember, this heavy attack is used over here when you have 2 runes. And then this Forte attack is used over here. It's a hold resonant skill. That's used when her full stop is maxed. So you probably see what's going on. And after casting heavy attacks, Schemata of the Runes, Sigrika gains full stop. So now you can probably see all of the different ways that her kit actually works together. First, you want to build up some runes to be able to use these heavy attacks, and then you'll gain some full stop. And then once you gain some full stop, then you're able to use this big heavy attack, or not this big heavy attack, this big enhanced resonance skill attack over here. And then you want to have a bunch of Solar Skin Vitality from your other teammates casting echo skills so that you can build up those stacks of innate gift. Does that make more sense? Probably does. This also means, though, that this unit might be considered one of the most premium units in the game, because if you don't have this, you don't really build up this. Maybe you will be able to build it up still, even with only like 2 or 3 echo skill casts in the team, because, well, that's still going to be there. So we'll figure out just how effective she is without necessarily having the most premium options available. We're also going to get a more in-depth look at her Forte circuit a bit later on. This is just the simplified version. Now, intro skill. Deal arrow damage. Press normal attack after casting the intro skill to cast basic attack stage 2. Nothing too confusing over here. It's just going to help advance your rotation further. One last thing we should also take a look at is Divergent again. Now that we know how the runes work, remember, the next time she obtains a rune, she obtains a rune of the opposite type and removes Divergent. So it's obviously a lot more clear why you would want to use this ability, especially after you figure out what her runes are for and how she generates her runes, right? This is going to be a good way to speed up her rotation and get her access to her heavy attacks, get her access to innate gift, all of that, and more full stop as fast as possible. So yeah, her ultimate's going to be a very, very, very important part. And you'll also see she has a lot of reasons to build ER. Now her outro skill. Attacks the target. Deal arrow damage equal to 795% of Sigrika's attack. That's a lot. That might be the highest damaging outro skill. I'm just going to be real with you. It might be the highest damaging one in the game. Here's Luke's, for example. It's just 500%. So, like, I don't know what business she has having 800. Basically, this looks illegal. But maybe it's due to the fact that she has a longer rotation or something like that. No, this is more than some people's fucking liberation damage. She's also going to gain 2 stacks of Encapsulated. When any nearby resonators in the team use echo skills, stagnate the target and consume 1 stack of Encapsulated. What this is actually going to do is Sigrika might be the best Chu Yan support on the planet, because this means that Chu Yan might actually not get interrupted while using his Thus Spoke the Blade combo. If you've ever used this Chu Yan unit and you try to use his Forte attack into an aggressive enemy, your ass is just gonna get slapped around like crazy. It's nuts. It's pretty bad if we're gonna be real over here. But with that additional stagnation, that's actually something that looks pretty good. So yeah, she's actually a Chu Yan enabler as well, and will provide you with additional CC that he doesn't get in Galbraina teams and stuff like that. So yeah, that's another thing to think about if you're a Chu Yan enjoyer. Now for the combat guide. She deals a bunch of echo skill damage. She uses her enhanced heavy attack, unleashes a variety of enhancement effects, including traction and stagnation, depending on the combat environment, so she's a bit like Frolova over there. And when resonators in the team restore Sigrika's Forte gate, or resonators in the team will build up her Forte whenever they cast Echo skills, which in turn gives her substantial damage amplification. So, yeah, a decent combat guide over here. They still seem to be missing out on the whole, like, hey, you need to use her basic attacks and get to Cypher and shit to even access any of this stuff. It kind of mid again. I'm gonna be real over here. Maybe they got the feedback they were too long before, but shorter and sweeter, but also not covering the baseline information is also not as good. Anyways, that's gonna be a brief look at her kit. Now let's go ahead and take a look at her inherent skills, because these are nuts. First one. Casting her intro skill grants her Convergent for 20 seconds. The next time Sigrika obtains a rune, she additionally obtains a rune of the same type and removes Convergent. And when Sigrika holds Divergent and Convergent at the same time, remember, Convergent is the one that takes priority. So remember what we were talking about before when it came to, like, the different runes? Yeah, she's got 2 different ways to double up on them. And when she has 100 points of full stop, like, she's supposed to use her enhanced resonance skill at that point, the Convergent just doesn't, like, do anything. So, yeah, you kind of just want to do, like, a baseline rotation on her when you build up all the stuff, not, like, pop in and, like, use this stuff when she already has her resources filled. Next, her inherent skill. When any nearby resonator in the team uses an echo skill, Sigrika gains a stack of Blessing of Runes, up to 6 stacks, and echoes with the same name can only trigger the effect once. So you're probably seeing what's going on over here. I don't think Sigrika casts echo skills. I think she just deals echo skill damage. And so she's very similar to Galbrina from that respect. And so having a Chuyan on the team 100%, right, allows her to get to that 6 stack limit very, very, very easily. And this effect resets upon having a lineup change. I would imagine that this actually is, like, permanent. Like, it doesn't look like it has a duration. Maybe it does have a duration, but it's just like, hey, as long as you use an echo skill, yeah, it'll, like, just be there. But you're probably going to use echo skills every single rotation. So, yeah, because you don't want to build up her Soul Skin Vitality anyways. So, yeah, that's just, it seems like it's pretty consistent, at least for the overworld, which should make her teams feel a lot nicer there. Maybe akin to Frolova, if we're frankly being honest. Now, each stack of Blessing of the Runes is going to grant the active resonator in the team 3% arrow damage and a 3% echo skill damage bonus. So remember what I talked about over here in that she's going to be a bit of a Chuyan enabler? Yeah, she's going to give him 18% arrow damage and 18% echo skill damage as well. And he does have echo skill damage on at least one of his attacks, I think his Liberation. So there's some additional scaling there too. And, well, honestly, if you run like Sustainless with like a Chakota or something, then she'll gain some additional damage bonuses as well. A lot of potential over here for some very, very, very highly damaging teams, and even more arrow damage on top of maybe some team buffs that other units might have. Another suggestion is, of course, running Arrow Rover if you want healing. Or you can go Yuno into Chuyan, then Sigrika. So there's a bunch of different teams you can use that are all mono arrow that can really heavily benefit, because Yuno's heavy attack buffs Chuyan, Chuyan's echo skill damage buffs Sigrika, and then Sigrika comes in, allows the stagnation and stuff, and then buffs arrow damage on top of that as well. So yeah, she's gonna have a lot of fun teams to play, but they're all gonna feature a Chinese guy, so be on the lookout for that one. When Blessings of the Runes reaches 6 stacks, Sigrika gains an additional 30% increase in arrow damage bonus and echo. You kind of see what was going on here when I said this unit seems overpowered. Yeah, she seems a little bit overpowered. Additionally, on top of that, for every 1% of Sigrika's ER over 125, basically she wants 150. She's going to be really hard to build on the substat side. Sigrika gains 2% echo skill damage for up to 50%. So, like, if you're able to get a 10% ER roll on every one of her pieces, she'll go from 100 to 150. But that's going to be, she's going to be like Brant level hard to build. Brant level difficult to build. You want double crit ER on every piece. And the ER, you want it to be like 10% ER. That's difficult, right? Yeah, that's going to be a bit rough, but that's going to be like her min-max capability. She has the potential to be one of the hardest characters to build in the game, and this unit will probably break a shit ton of accounts. Or you can be a pussy, and I'm gonna not have any respect for you as a player. You could just go ahead and run like an ER 3 cost, but like, why the fuck would you do that? Wait, let me see if I even have any. Yeah, these pieces are all trash. Wait, these pieces are all unusable. Yeah. Oh, that's not good. Oh, dearie me. Yeah, you could just run like an ER3 cost. This is tragic. Yeah, I'm beginning to realize all my pieces are bad. You could just run an ER3 cost, but like, why would you do that? Like, just stop being a weak, pathetic person. And just build the character properly. You know what I mean? Like, if you use this, you're a weak, pathetic person. I'm just gonna tell that to you up front. Like what are you doing here? What are you doing here? Just use 10,000 tuners and get double crit ER on every piece. Stop making excuses. It's you're pulling Sigrika anyways. You might as well go all the way. Yeah, you pulled Sigrika. You pulled Sigrika. What are you gonna do then? Right? Like, why don't you just skip her then if you weren't willing to invest? Bum. Anyways, now's a good time that we've seen how strong her self buffs are. Now's a good time for us to actually take a bit of a preview at her weapon. Yeah, her weapon gives her 32% echo skill damage amplification at R1, and then also 10% defense ignore. The defense ignore is kind of just non-existent. I'm gonna be honest. I feel like this is a fake stat that doesn't actually do anything. But 32% echo skill damage amp is amazing in regards to her kit because she has so many fucking damage bonuses. It's insane. Her weapon having only amp and like no damage bonus is not an issue because she has all of these. Like, let's just read it. It's 50% echo skill. Then she'll have 60%. She has like 110% from existing. With the Chuyan on her team, she has 110% damage basically on her echo skill attacks. And then her set's gonna give another 15%. So like, there you go. Now you're at 125. Oh, sorry, another 10. It's 135% damage on her echo skills at the very least. And then 20% crit rate on top of that. Yeah, I begin to see why her damage bonus is lower than Amos because, 5% lower than Amos doesn't really matter when you got this much shit, right? This character, like I said before, I think if she's properly built and min-maxed, she's overpowered. Yeah, I think she's overpowered. Oh, wait, yeah, her 4 cost also gives an additional 32% too. I don't know, man. Like, this shit looks crazy. Yeah, I think everyone thinks this shit looks crazy. Anyways, that's going to be just how broken her self buffs are. They're absolutely insane. It doesn't really make that much sense. Now let's read a little bit more about how her Forte circuit is going to work. So when she has all the different runes, she gains different effects depending on the combination of runes that she's using. So when she consumes 2 runes of trust, the skill gains the effect of a runic chain whip. I'm not exactly sure what that's supposed to mean. And when she consumes 2 runes of answer, the skill gains the effect of a runic solaskin. And when consuming runes, right, if she has at least 30 points of the vitality, she's going to consume the 30 points to increase the damage multipliers of either of those attacks by 50% and then gain that stack of innate gift, which is going to give her damage amplification, right, on that big attack that she does, where she holds down her resonance skill with maximum full stop. However, if she consumes the runes and it's lower than 30 points, she'll just consume all of the Solaskin vitality that she has. And at every 10 points, right, that she does consume, it's just going to give the attacks 15% damage amplification. So she even has, like, you know, she does have some ways to deal some additional damage, even when she doesn't have, like, all of the Echo skill casts on her team. So that is something to think about as well. It appears that she does have, like, some type of, like, free-to-play-ish concessions made in her kit as this, you know, like as like a thing, but you're probably still going to want Chuyan on her team in pretty much all circumstances. So this might not even be real, but we'll make sure to actually test it out because I think she'll work with, like, she seems to basic attack a lot, so maybe you'll want like a Sanhua or something, or maybe you could just run like Chikona alongside like a Shorekeeper or something like that, just so Chikona's in there to buff a bunch of arrow damage, like arrow damage percent, which will actually boost Sigrika's Echo skill damage as well. And so that heavy attack also deals Echo skill damage, like pretty much all of the big attacks in her kit. So Runic Outburst appears to be the attack that she uses when the runes are mixed, and it doesn't seem to have any sort of special effect. Runic Chain Whip is going to stagnate the targets, while Runic Solaskin pulls them in. So based off of how many runes you're actually using, right? And there's a reason why Convergent is the one that takes priority. Because Convergent will essentially allow you to, A, decide which of these Chain Whip or Solaskin, which of the attacks you're going to use. Are you going to stagnate them, or are you going to pull them in, or are you going to pull them in with some traction? And remember, right? Trust gives you the stagnation, Answer gives you the pull-in. And, well, as you all know, the different runes available are here. Trust you gain from using your basic attacks. And then Big Boomy Boom or Solaskin Aid is the one that gives you the answer ones. So yeah, resonance skill for the traction, basic attacks for the stagnation. And then when you mix them up, right, you'll have one rune of trust and one rune of answer. You don't get either of the effects. And convergence, which is what you gain from your intro skill, that's the one that gives you double, while divergent is the one that splits them up and gives you the opposite type of rune. So yeah, you'll gain access to one type of her crowd control, unless you're like doing like some really weird rotation where you're like extending it. That's something that you can do as well to make sure that you get 2 runes of the type that you want. But that's how it's going to be looking over here. And then of course you can see how all the different attacks can get damage boosted if you have those points of Soul Skin Vitality. Now, Forte Circuit, learn my true name. When full stop reaches 100 points, and if Forte Circuit Learn My True Name is not on cooldown, you'll press the resonance skill to use Boomy Boom or Soul Skin to the aid, and then hold it to consume all full stop, and then cast Forte Circuit Learn My True Name, and that's going to deal a shit ton of damage. And remember, that's the attack that gets buffed by Innate Gift. Each stack grants, Sigrika can hold up to 2 stacks of Innate Gift, and each stack is going to grant all of her attacks, right, that are essentially the heavy attacks that she can use with either the runes or the full stop attack at 100 points. They're all going to gain 30% damage amplification, I do believe, per stack. And this effect ends after she uses the big attack or she switched off field. So you could kind of see over here, she's got a lot more buffs than even the ones that we looked at before. Sigrika holds up to 4 runes, and without full stop, she can only hold up to 2. And when Sigrika gains a new rune at max capacity, the existing runes shift 1 slot to the left. It's going to remove the leftmost rune. Kind of similar to how Frolova's chords work when she's building them up before using her liberation and like Scarlet Coda and all of that. And with at least 50 points of full stop, Sigrika can hold those 2 additional runes. And hitting a target with a basic attack, blah, 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 elucidated, remember. And then the resonance skill, they give her different rune types. The basic attacks are dodge counters, giving her trust. And then, once again, her resonance skills, giving her answer. And after casting heavy attack schemata of the runes, she gains 50 points of full stop. You can kind of see what's going on over here. Sigrika's rotation might actually involve using one of these heavy attacks to gain that 50 points and then building up 4 more runes. That probably is something that makes a decent amount of sense to do. I don't see any reason why she would be able to hold up to 4 runes then, as she only gains the ability to hold up to 4 runes right after using one of those heavy attacks. So I imagine her rotation is similar along the lines of you get 2 runes after intro skilling in by getting into Decipher, and then of course using Convergence to either use a CC of Stagnation or her Traction. Then you'll gain 50 points of full stop and then be able to, well, get 4 more runes. So the end result is you maybe do that, maybe get 50 points of full stop, then use her liberation, and then build up 4 runes in whatever order you plan on actually getting them in. And that should be, I think, what her rotation actually looks like. And then you end it by using that big true name attack after you built up a bunch of stacks of Innate Gift, right? Because you get Innate Gift every single time you end up using that heavy attack. Just some additional confirmation for that over here. Yeah. That's when you gain a stack of Innate Gift after consuming some runes with Soul Skin Vitality. Now, Soul Skin Vitality. Whenever a nearby resonator in the team uses an Echo skill, Sigrika gains 10 points of the Soul Skin Vitality up to 60. And Echoes with the same name can only trigger the attack or trigger the effect once, and then using her outro skill in this very moment resets the record of Echoes. So yes, she wants 6 Echo skill casts. She's gonna have one of them. Her support's gonna have another, and then Chuyan's gonna come in with 4. She has a hard cap on the number of Echo skill casts that she actually benefits from. She is unlike a Frolova, who has no cap on however many Echo skills they can use for their Hecate enhanced attacks. Her, on the other hand, she just wants 4. She just wants 4 of them on one of her teammates. So you could try something with Cantarella if you like really want to, but I don't think Cantarella is gonna buff anybody significant in any way on the team, and it's going to be giga copium to, I guess, utilize her at all. That's just gonna be my personal take. I think you're coping like fucking crazy if you plan on like doing anything with this unit, because she's not gonna buff pretty much anything in Sigrika's kit, and she kind of is just there as like a Frolova teammate. So yeah, that is something to keep in mind. I don't think there's a lot of potential here. And now Tomb Break. She's not a Toon character. Sigrika, Ironically enough, being a Lahai Roy unit has nothing to do with Lahai Roy's key mechanic. Nothing at all. So, no real synergy with, like, Lene, no real synergy with Tomb Break Boost, and no synergy at all with Mornier. But she really fills out the Echo Skill archetype, at least for arrow damage dealers. So, yeah, she's kind of like a step away from the meta that's been developing over in 3.0 and beyond. And, well, honestly, some people might like that, but that also makes her, especially if you're somebody that invested in, like, Lene, Mornier, all those units, extremely, extremely, extremely skippable. And I think the main element of whether or not you actually decide to pull her is entirely dependent on, do you have this unit? That's pretty much it. Do you have this unit? And if you do, she's a great idea to pull. I'm sorry. I don't know any way to really communicate that other than she's Chuyan's best in slot and Chuyan is her best in slot, because this is going to open up so many different teams, right? Where you have Sigrika coming in, buffing arrow damage as well for some godforsaken reason. Yuno can heal, and then with her heavy attack damage amplification that she has over here, right? She's got a shit ton of it. Let me just move my chat a little bit. She's got a shit ton of it, right? That's really strong. 50% to Chuyan, who deals heavy attack damage. Then he gives her 50% Echo Skill damage amplification as well. The end result is that this team is looking cracked, and it has, like, full sustain and everything. You can also just decide to slot in good old Arrow Rover 2, who, with their weapon, is going to provide 26% damage amp to everybody. And then they also heal. So this is an alternative use of Arrow Rover outside of cart teams, and it's going to probably be very strong as well. And then if you decide, hey, we're just going to go sustainless because I don't give a shit, you use Chikona, who has a lot of CC herself, and of course can benefit from all of those stats that are being provided, and then Chikona comes in and then provides a lot of arrow damage, especially with that 24% she has over here. And if you have Chikona's weapon, well, congratulations, that's another 10% arrow resistance reduction. And then boom, Chikona also has Gust of Welkin, which as you all know, Gust of Welkin gives a lot of arrow damage as well. Oh, another thing I forgot about why Chuyan is her best in slot. Yeah, he also got this Law of Harmony set, which is going to give 16% Echo Skill damage. And I forgot, like Chuyan's also got a shit ton of other buffs. 30% crit damage over here. Then 30% Echo Skill damage over here. You're probably just beginning to recognize, yeah, there's so many damage buffs in this team. It's going to be absolutely absurd. Like, at some point, we're probably going to need to calculate just how many buffs there are total, because it's ridiculous. Oh, I forgot. You also got Chuyan's weapon, too, which also gives 20%. Yeah, there's so much damage. Like, I'm pretty sure she's close to, like, 200 plus damage percent. It's a lot, right? It looks like it's going to be overpowered. And I think the only rationality I can imagine is that this unit might have, like, low damage multipliers, but you're also really going to want her to be on... This might be the first unit in the game where 2 attack 3 costs is best in slot. I'm not even joking. This might be the first unit where 2 attack 3 costs is legitimately her best in slot. Who knows? That might actually be it. I'm probably going to go 1 arrow still and then 1 attack and try to giga optimize this build. But as you're seeing, she might be the unit with the highest ceiling in the game. I don't doubt it. Like, it might be one of the hardest to build in the game, but she should have the highest possible ceiling. It's going to be ridiculous. And if you have Chuyan, I mean, I'm going to be real over here. It kind of is a good idea to pull her. Just because she does look like she's going to be absolutely cracked. And if you are going to pull her, well, you're also going to want to make sure to pull Chuyan as well. Because, yeah, she's not going to feel that great without him. We will be doing free-to-play testing, of course, right? But, yeah, I don't know how it's going to look. Especially with the fact that she won't be able to activate her gift buffs. But who knows? Maybe it'll be decent anyways, and she'll just be a crack character. But yeah, that's going to be our Sigrika Kit sort of breakdown. I think she does look ridiculously overpowered as long as you're willing to build her premium team. But she also has a lot of premium teams available because I do think she's going to be good with Shorekeeper, Arrow Rover, and all these different units. So if you do have those building blocks and you do have those pieces, she has the potential to be a lot of fun. And also has potential to be, I think, the highest damage dealer in the game. I think she might actually be the best DPS. Like she might actually be better than Kartithia. As long as you don't run an ER3 cost on her, because like I said before, that's for weak-willed individuals. And if I do end up reviewing an account and the Sigrika has an ER3 cost, I'm just gonna drop the review right there. Come on, don't be a loser. Anyways, excited to see how much this unit bricks people's accounts as time goes on, because she will in fact be bricking the hell out of mine. Let me know what you all thought. Peace out.